It's a nice Tuesday evening, November the 2nd. And I'm coming to you live from the good state of Arizona. And I want to talk about fighting for our children. You know, at my age, I just celebrated my 70th birthday. God offers us 70. So anytime that I have less is bonus time. And since I got my 70, I am going to try to use this bonus time to the best of my abilities to get everything I can get out of it, to do everything God will allow me to do to serve Him, to bring Him glory. And nothing else matters pretty much at this point in my life. Well, yes, I want to live. Yes, I want to celebrate my family. Yes, I want to have fun. But bringing God glory is the most important thing. But I want to talk about one way that people my age can bring God glory. Because we're supposed to leave a witness. We're supposed to set an example. We're supposed to be light and salt in an evil and dark world. And all of us that have had children and grandchildren would stand up and fight for them as they were growing up. We would do whatever we had to do to protect our families. But it seems like there are many people that are unwilling to protect their family in the face of evil, in the face of tyranny, in the face of things that just aren't making sense in this world. I was born in 1952, and I grew up at a time when children were allowed to be children. I grew up at a time when I was a little boy. I used to watch Captain Kangaroo and enjoyed him, and Mr. Green Jeans and Bunny Rabbit and all kinds of things a little kid would enjoy. I used to watch, we had local, I guess these were local cartoon or child entertainments, Engineer Bill and Sheriff John, Chucko the Clown. I don't know if he was local or national. But nevertheless, as a child, we only heard things that pertained to being a little kid. We didn't hear anything that pertained to adults, that pertained to sexuality, that pertained to things that just weren't for children. But things have changed. When I went to school, they were focusing on academics. They were focusing on trying to teach us how to read, how to write, how to spell, different things that would prepare us for each level of grade up. So we can eventually get into society, hopefully get a job, hopefully be able to be citizens that were, productive, could help society. And I guess our parents trusted the school system when I was a child. We used to have a thing called the PTA. I assume that there's still a PTA. In California, that was the Parent Teacher Association. So it was the parents and the teachers working together, associating as it were, working together to help prepare curricula and do different things that were going to help children grow and be productive citizens. And the teachers did not do things or teach things that were antithetical to a biblical lifestyle, that were antithetical to the normal parent-child relationship. They didn't slip in stuff life has changed. Things have changed drastically. And in California, I don't even know how many years ago, I would venture to say about 10 years ago, things had gotten so radical that a child, if they brought a cough drop to school, they get suspended. But if a girl sought an abortion, the school would take her out to get one without any parental notification. And it was perfectly legal. Perfectly legal. Parents had no say. Now, right now in California, I left California about 2.5 years ago. Thank God. For me, anyway, not necessarily people in California. Because they're still living under a more tyrannical atmosphere. But about before I left, they were doing even more atrocious things. Now it's illegal to counsel a child that has sexual identity problems. Meaning if a little boy just thought he was a girl and the parents were concerned and they wanted professional help, but they could not go and get that. I assume they can still talk to a pastor, but they cannot get that help from a secular psychologist or psychiatrist or a doctor or anything like that. They went so radical in California, even recently, I think within the last week or so, they passed a law that if the government feels a certain way, and I'll use a hypothetical about, say, the COVID vaccine and stuff like that, the doctors are not permitted to speak out against that. They're going to have government control over the medical field of people, which is absolutely insane. But there are some doctors that are fighting out against that. But what I want to focus on here this evening is not pertaining just to California. It's pertaining to the nation as a whole. It's pertaining to the fact that we seniors, and I'm a senior, I remember when I was a kid and I saw, golly, these folks over 30 are old, and over 40 and over 50, well, they're old. Well, I'm over 60, I just turned 70, so I'm old. But nevertheless, we have a responsibility. We have a responsibility, each and every one of us, because we lived at a time of normalcy. We lived at a time where there wasn't people running around saying that you can change your sexual identity. We lived at a time when a boy was a boy and a girl was a girl. When there were gender neutral characters in cartoons, where there weren't lesbian characters in cartoons, or homosexual characters. And as a matter of fact, they didn't even get into sexual stuff. They expected a child to be a child. And I want to share some information with you. Many people, they don't look at this stuff, and they don't understand. They're just going about their lives. They can see, yeah, the economy's bad. We have inflation. We have all these problems with the government. And some of us that are Democrats might not be as happy with our leadership, but they still hate Republicans. And those of us that are Republicans are really unhappy with our leadership. But this stuff I'm talking about is beyond a political party thinking. This stuff is going against the very foundation of our society. This is how societies crumble. This is how the Roman government empire crumbled. It didn't crumble because of all the forces, Huns and different people from without. It crumbled because of the decay and rot within. And America right now is rotting within. And I believe it's due to the fact that the church has not stood up and taken note and protected the people. Now, I want to share this article. I'm going to run through this. This article is dated October the 30th. from the Epoch Times, where it says some schools are teaching some schools are teaching kids is so obscene, parental rights activists can't even read it on TV. I think they're trying to say some school teaching. But anyway, what some schools are teaching, my fault. What some schools are teaching is so obscene, parental rights activists can't even read it on television. We're talking about them teaching children in school things that you can't even show on local TV. And this is going across the nation. And I believe it originates from the Daily Caller News Foundation, a writer named Regan Reese, from the Daily Caller. So let's look at this. And I'm going to try to give you some ideas on what you can do as a grandparent to fight. Parents and parental rights advocates seeking to shed light on what is being taught in schools say television stations won't even broadcast what's in their school curriculum because it's too obscene. It is against the Federal Communication Commission guidelines to describe sexual conduct or feature any grossly offensive language on radio or television broadcast. Now we're talking about, not obviously talking about cable, we're talking about the regular ABC, NBC, CBS, supposed to be over-the-air stations. Parental rights and education advocates told the Daily Caller News Foundation that television and radio stations do not allow them to talk about the obscene curriculum and books allowed in schools. When my kids were younger, or just in my early life, I can't think of a time that I would be talking about a children's book and couldn't discuss it on the radio. Erica Sanchez, Director of Outreach at Parents Defense Education, told the DCNF, "This is a new phenomenon where you cannot discuss what is in a book used for children." Think about that. You can't discuss what's in a book for children? But your children are supposed to listen to this stuff at school that you spend your taxpayer dollars to educate your children? Sanchez told the DCNF that a producer at a television station told her she could not discuss the type of sex that 10-year-olds learn in the human growth and development curriculum of a Wisconsin school district due to FCC regulations. See, I started off talking about California, but now I'm all the way in Wisconsin. There was anal sex, oral sex, and vaginal sex, Sanchez told the DCNF. She was like, oh my God, like you can't say that. The main thing that she was telling me was that I couldn't use explicit terms of body parts, and I couldn't describe these different types of sex that the kids learn about. So an adult is telling another adult that she cannot put on the air information that some other adult is teaching our children in the classroom. Sanchez said other television stations and radio stations have made similar requests, citing FCC guidelines. Schools around the country often feature sexually explicit content in their curriculums. The New Jersey Department of Education Sexual Education Standards teaches fifth graders all the ways pregnancy can be achieved and introduces eighth graders to all types of sex, including anal sex. Here are these people that are trying to raise their children with a biblical foundation are being subjected to this stuff that is totally antithetical to the Bible. The problem is too many parents don't know, and too many parents are unwilling to stand up and fight. But these same parents, if somebody was attacked their child on the street and they saw it, they'd fight. So we need to fight for our children, whether it's a physical fight to stop somebody from harming them, or it's an intellectual or indoctrinational fight to stop people from beating up their minds with poison. Some school districts feature books such as Gender Queer, which depicts illustrations of main characters masturbating and and receiving oral sex. And this book is gay, which teaches boy on boy sex. Man. And it's described as an instruction manual for LGBTQ students. An instructional manual? Excuse me. When I was growing up as a young boy, like most kids, you eventually start wondering about sexual things, about your body, and you start noticing that the girls develop and you start becoming physically attracted. Adults, we'd have our little dances and try to get close, and there would be some adult trying to keep us separated. There's certain biological realities of life that we're going to seek after, because that is the way we're made. We're made to be attracted and eventually grow up and procreate and replenish the bloodline. But never in my life, as a young person, or in my children's life that I'm aware of, have they ever offered a sexual manual. And it was unthinkable to even consider one that went against the very root of society, which is a male-female relationship. But here we are in 2022, teaching our children that it's okay. Not only that it's okay, but it's being programmed into them. I remember a long time ago. Well, in the 80s is a long time ago to a lot of people. I remember in the 60s, the LBGTQ, well, there was no T. The attitude with this stuff was an abomination. Actually, biblically, it was and still is an abomination. And this thing was kept in the closet. These people that did this, they were pretty much shunned by society, and it was something that was just not acceptable. Well, they kept pushing their agenda, and it got to the point where people wanted to say, well, hey, look. Or they said, we're not going to bother you. We just want to get out of the closet. We just want to live our lives normally, like everyone else. We're not going to bother marriage or your family or your children or any of that stuff. We just want to be okay. So society started loosening up. Society started being more open. And they decided to, okay, fine, we'll just deal with this situation. We'll just let them be who they are. Well, it wasn't just good enough for them to get out of the closet. You look at it now, they're trying to push the church in the closet. They're trying to tell us that the things that we believe in are bad. They're trying to tell us that we need to get rid of Romans chapter 1 and 1 Corinthians chapter 6 and Leviticus 18 and any other part of the Bible that speaks against homosexuality. Because it's evil. We're being told that the Bible is only as good as the part where Jesus is love, and that's it. Other than that, it's antithetical to decency in this world. And us that are Christians are trying to stay biblically sound and follow what the Lord says. We see this as an appalling breakdown of society. And like I said, these people claim that all they want to do is get out and be left alone. Well, obviously that's not true. Because when Obama was president, he fought for them to get married. And frankly, there's no such thing as a homosexual marriage because God created marriage. God, that was the first institution he created. But legally, in the United States and in many countries, these people of the same sex can get married. And many people in the church, even then, they said, okay, fine, let them, they're married, they can do their thing, they're not bothering us. That wasn't good enough. Now they're indoctrinating our children. They're trying to replenish their debauchery by, propagandizing and indoctrinating our children and forcing us to accept them trying to tell our children that what the Bible says is an abomination is normal and good. That's not acceptable. And the church has to stand against it. Or you're not the church anymore. Look, let's continue. Scarlett Johnson, head of Ozaukee, Wisconsin's Mom for Liberty chapter, was told by a cameraman for WISN 12 News that the station could not air footage of her signs featuring images and languages used in Wauwatosa School District's sexual education curriculum because it was too obscene. She told the DCNF, he said, I'm going to have to blur the images so much that no one will be able to tell what they're looking at. The language on there was anal sex, there was erections, wet dreams, Johnson told the DCNF. There were graphic images of condoms and then the images of vulva, vagina, penis, and they all came straight from the curriculum. Johnson said that because she cannot talk about the graphic images and material in schools, she is forced to talk about different aspects of sexual education curriculum that do not give the entire picture. Because of that, we never talked about the real issues. I'm just getting upset about it, and upset it's always, you just don't want to read some kind kindergarten books about gay parents or princess boys, Johnson told the DCNF. It's so much more than that. This reminds me of the abortion, the way it's portrayed in the real world. You never see commercials on television against abortion, ever. They won't accept them. They won't allow them. They will show you pro-choice stuff all the time in the news. They will just blanket it with all this pro-choice. God is love. It's cruel. This is against a woman's body. You should let a woman have her body, do whatever the hell she wants to do. But you'll never see a an anti-abortion commercial on television. And it's not because we don't want to show them. And it's not because we don't, the society, the people, the biblically minded, or those folks that believe in the life of the unborn cannot provide the funds to finance it. It's because the media doesn't want the populace to see it. That's why. And it's the same thing. They're trying to shut out the public from seeing all this debauchery that they're forcing down the brains of our children. But they don't want you, the parents, to see it. But they want to make sure that they can keep indoctrinating our children. Look, a lot of people don't realize this. Back in 1933, when Hitler took over Germany, when he was elected, by the way, he was elected. there were many people that understood what was going on. And they understood that he was an evil man, even before they knew that he was going to try to kill off the Jews. They understood that he wasn't good for Germany. But one of Hitler's motivations, or one of his thoughts, was this. He understood that these folks were there, and he didn't care about them folks. Part of his plan was to indoctrinate the children. If he can get the children, sooner or later that older generation is going to die off. Or get killed off, whichever way he's able to do it. But if he can get into the minds of the children, and they had a thing called the Hitler Youth. And those kids were fully indoctrinated. By the time the war was ending, there was a bunch of 12, 13 year-old kids out there fighting, riding tanks and stuff, trying to kill people with uniforms on, because they were fully indoctrinated. So these folks want to indoctrinate our children. And parents need to understand something else. You cannot take your child to church on Sunday for a couple of hours and maybe a midweek service on Wednesday or Tuesday or whatever, but put them in a public school 5 days a week, 5 to 7 hours a day, and expect their biblical teaching to stand up against that secular, demonic, evil indoctrination they're getting forced on every day. You can't compete with that. Something's going to give. You're going to have to either start training that child up independently outside of that secular school, or start spending a heck of a lot more time evening every day going through the material, going through the indoctrination, and reprogramming their mind when they get home, until you can figure out a way to get them into either a private institution or homeschool them. See, the teachers union has massive power in this nation, and they fight against vouchers. And I say parents should have vouchers. They should have the ability to decide how to educate their kids. The public schools are not doing you a favor. You're paying for the public schools out of your tax money. So don't fall for this crap like, I don't have no choice. Yes, you got a choice, but you have to vote in leaders that will help precipitate that choice by getting the power away from the school districts or the teachers union and getting that power back to the parents. And if you had vouchers where you can take that money and either homeschool that kid or set up a charter school, set up something where you can get your kid away from that indoctrination, that you can protect them against this secular, demonic agenda that's going on right now to destroy your children. Let's continue with this article. It's almost over. Let me back up. Let me see the next page. Under FCC guidelines, obscene content is always prohibited, while indecent and profane content is not allowed to be aired between the hours of 6 a.m. and 10 p.m. when there is a reasonable risk that children may be in the audience. Sanchez said she understands parents who raise concerns that the content not appropriate for public broadcast is in the school curriculum. I certainly can understand why a parent would say, if you can't say it on the radio and you can't say it on television and you can't read it in a public board meeting, perhaps it's not appropriate for our 8th grade year olds. The FCC, New Jersey Department of Education, Hillsborough School District, Wauwatosa School District, and WSIN did not immediately respond to the Daily Caller's News Foundation request for comment. Of course not. Of course not. They don't want to answer questions about this mess. I have something else I was looking at. I couldn't get all the information down. Let us see. Here's one. Let's see. This is another article, or part of an article from the Wauwatosa School Board, Wisconsin. human growth development curriculum. Uh, Tuesday, in a 6-1 vote, after proposing one curriculum on August the 2nd, according to Fox 6, the approved K-12 curriculum tells educators to refer to girls as a person with a vulva. What is that? You know, that's right up there with this nonsense about men can menstruate or men can get pregnant. So refer to a girl. I guess you don't call them girls anymore. You call them a person with a vulva. I mean, this is sick. When teaching anatomy to sixth graders in order to remain inclusive. Oh man, the sixth grade lesson plan tells teachers to call women a person with a vulva. The students are taught how their family and peers may influence their attitude toward gender identity and gender expression. Oh man. Let us see here. This is here's another little point. It says you might even feel like you're a boy, even if you have body parts the same. Even if you have body parts that some people might tell you are girls' parts. The activity reads, you might even feel like you're a girl, even if you have body parts that some people might tell you are boys' parts. And you might not like you're a boy or a girl, but you're a little bit of both. I mean, this is insanity, people. This is insanity. This is demonic. There's no way of getting around it. I mean, the spirit of the age has infiltrated our education system, and they're trying to lock parents out. I remember several months ago when Virginia parents raised hell against the school board in Virginia. The school board and the Attorney General of the United States were trying to talk about parents being domestic terrorists. Well, I've told people, one of the things I've been harping on is to vote Christian values. If you're a Christian, you need to vote Christian values. If you're one of these Christians that have been lifelong Democrats, you can't stand up talking about, well, I'm a Democrat, I've always been a Democrat, I'm going to die a Democrat. Okay. But if the Democrat Party is going against the God of the Bible that you claim to serve, who are you going to serve? The God of the Bible or the Democrat Party? You need to make a decision. Which is more important? Honoring God or honoring the Democrat Party? Which one? You tell me. There's a Georgia elementary teacher. We were in California, we were in Wisconsin, now we're in Georgia. Georgia elementary teacher fired for opposing children book depicting same-sex couple. Now suing school. A Bryan County substitute teacher says she was terminated from her job at McAllister Elementary School after she reported a children's book containing illustrations that goes against her religious values. Part of the school's new library Read Aloud program, children's book, All Are Welcome, contain illustrations of non-traditional forms of marriage, including depictions of same-sex male couple. Well, this woman's a Christian. She wants to stand for the Bible. She doesn't want to, and you know what? Before things went crazy, to the best of my knowledge, people took up the desire to be teachers because they wanted to educate children on how to read, write, do math, prepare them for higher education, prepare them to be able to be functioning, vibrant members of society. There was nowhere where people were training themselves so they can be sexual counselors. Because that sounds like what it is. It sounds like either they're trying to be some kind of weird sexual counselor or they're trying to prepare people for a life of pedophilia. Since being fired, teacher Lindsay Baer lawyered up and began a lawsuit against the Byron County Schools and McAllister Elementary in Georgia for violating her constitutional rights and her rights as a parent. Also, a mom of 3 sons, all currently attending Byron County schools, Baer said she learned about the book on August the 15th through the school's librarian, who made it public on Facebook ahead of the Read Aloud program, adding that she was already on high alert after previous interactions. I believe in traditional marriage, as outlined by the Bible, that marriage is held between a man and a woman, deeply held religious beliefs. I believe that too. She told the Epoch Times, "This book depicts images that are contrary to that." Baer reported her findings to a fellow teacher forthwith, and shortly thereafter emailed McAllister Elementary Principal Heather Tucker, voicing her concerns and requesting that her own children be excused from the reading. Principal Tucker ended up calling me the next day, and I was not at school, Baer said. She said that my kids would be excused from the reading program. But the debacle didn't end there. Baer asked for an opportunity to meet the principal in private to discuss the matter. But with that came consequences. I basically told her we have deeply held religious values, that we believe our children, that we're teaching our children about marriage, and that I felt like the book is outside of that, Baer said. As a substitute teacher, Baer uses a platform to pick up classroom work. She can choose her own schedule and is fairly flexible, she said. Usually she's awash with jobs. Then something changed. When you log into the platform, you can go in and say, I want to work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, she said. When I logged into the platform, I had no offers of work. The day before I had logged in, I had 57 job offers. And then that day that I logged in, the next day after making the complaint, I had 0. Prior to becoming a substitute teacher, Baer had taught full-time in Byron County for 10 years, until taking a break in 2018, when her youngest son entered kindergarten. This year, she returned to work as a substitute at McAllister Elementary School before stumbling onto the children's book. A few days after her termination, Baer contacted Alliance Defending Freedom Legal and began building a case accusing the school of violating her constitutional right, which guaranteed religious freedom and freedom of speech. So these people, wow, like I said, it's indoctrination. You toe the line or you get crushed. And the line right now is to indoctrinate our children. Listen, especially you boomers, you people my age. I said for quite some time, I believe that my parents' generation dropped the ball. I think after World War II and everything, and they got, the prosperity of the 50s, and things start getting really great, and the big American dream, and we let our guard down. We let the secularists take over the schools. We didn't pay attention to the educational system and what was going on. And then when I grew up in the 60s, and 70s. I graduated high school in 1970. We were full blown in the flower child and the power to the people and getting high and all this stuff and everything is love mindset. And we let many of those folks get into the educational system. So, like I said, I think my parents' generation dropped the ball, and I think my generation let all the air out of it. And this generation after me, I think can't even find the ball. That's how bad it's gotten. That's how bad it's gotten. Well, now we're at a point that some decisions have to be made, that some sacrifices have to be made. You know, when the first generation Christians stood up for Jesus Christ, many of them were killed. Many of them were crucified or burned at the stake, or like in Nero, made folks human torches to light up his gardens at night because they would not renounce their love for Lord of Lords, King of Kings, and they would not submit themselves to the authority of Caesar. But we have a lot of Christians, or I call them CINOs, Christian in name only these days. They will not stand up and fight. They will not fight against this stuff. It has gotten to the point, you know, Christianity got so weak in England and in Canada that you cannot even preach certain aspects of the Bible over there anymore. You can't do it. You'll go to jail. You know, you got these laws about you saying the wrong stuff. But we still, fortunately, have the First Amendment. But they are trying their best to circumvent it and to neuter it. And the only thing that we have that's protecting the First Amendment is the Second Amendment, which they want to get rid of. And if they can get rid of the Second Amendment, the First Amendment is going down. So, it would behoove us to understand what's going on and to pay attention and not just walk around and live a life in a Christian bubble, as it were, saying, well, I don't bother nobody and I don't mess with nobody and God's going to win in the end and I'm just waiting on Jesus to come back. No, you need to be light and salt. You need to take a stand. You need to stand up and talk and deal with the facts and stand up for what's right. Now, as a baby boomer, as an older person, there is something that you can do. There is something that all of us can do. Right now, I'm trying to talk to you. I'm trying to tell you to take a stand. And each and every one of you that got children and grandchildren could take a stand. I want to encourage you to talk to them. I want to encourage you to talk to your grandchildren about what is right. And I want to encourage you to leave a witness, to leave a testimony. Make a video. Make several. Use your phone. Use your video machine. If you guys got videos where you're sitting going out there on vacation and stuff, do something that's going to last, that's going to outlast you. I can reach some people. I can't reach everybody. I can't reach who you can reach. And every one of you that got grandkids that look up to you, you can reach them. Every last one of you that got kids, or if you're not a grandparent and your kids haven't gotten, the clay hasn't gotten so hard. Like I'm saying, like raising kids is like molding clay. You know, the clay is wet and you can mold that. But after a while, that clay starts getting hard. And it's harder to chip something into an image than it is to mold that which is wet. But even those folks that have gotten hard, even those folks, if you can get them to listen to you, talk to them. And season all of that. Season all of it even before you start. Get on your knees and start asking God to help you, to protect them. Because this is spiritual warfare, folks. This is not an intellectual exercise. This is a fight against demonic powers and principalities in heavenly places. And our power, those of us that believe in the God of the Bible, our power comes from on high. And we have to get that power to fight. We can't win this on our own. But some of us get the idea, well, who am I? I'm just one person. Hey, David was just one person who stood up against that lion. Gideon was just one person. I believe God called him when he had a bunch of soldiers. He said, send them back. What, he only ended up with 300? Elijah was one person that stood up there on Mount Carmel against, 450 Baal prophets? So don't talk about you just one person. God can use one person. Martin Luther King was one person. God can use one person. And if you think about it, and if you're biblically minded, God never used a whole lot of people to get anything done. Because it's not about the people. It's not about them getting the glory. It's about him getting the glory. And God told us to raise up a child in the way he should go. And that's what we need to do. And since he told us to be light and salt, we need to shine light on the darkness. And we need to season the darkness. We need to stand against these school districts, these schools. We need to go to these PTA meetings. We need to look at the curriculums that's coming into our homes. We need to investigate. And you teachers that know the Bible, you teachers that understand the Bible, I know some of you may be stuck between a rock and a hard place. I know some of you may not be strong enough to leave just yet. But if you're not strong enough to leave, if you're not willing to just say, I'm out of here, then become a spy. Take that information and share it with the church. Take that stuff that they're trying to keep our children from keeping from us and let us see it. And those that can get on the front line will get on the front line. We need those, what do they call those people? Whistleblowers. We need biblical whistleblowers in the schools. Until we can get to the point where we can get all our children out of that mess. And we can get them into the kind of educational environment that's conducive to a biblical lifestyle. You know, you got to remember, folks, Sodom and Gomorrah, a lot of people look at it just like a Bible story. But why would God destroy the whole dadgum place? Because everybody was corrupt. Abraham said, well, if there's 50 righteous men, will you destroy it? He said, no, not 50, 40. No, they couldn't even find 10. They couldn't even find 10. And even Lot, even his nephew who got out of there, he was so warped, and his wife longed for that mess and turned into a pillar of salt, and he ended up into an incestual relationship with his daughters. So the more our children are fed this mess, the more it corrupts their mind. And the longer we stay on the sidelines, the more work it's going to take to fix it. And many of us may not see the end of this battle. Like I said, some of us are on bonus time. My plan is to go out on empty. I still feel like I got a lot of gas in my tank. And I'm gonna preach till the cows come home, or Jesus. I'm not gonna stop until he stops me or somebody else does. And I think the Lord is gonna continue to use me as long as it serves his will. And he will continue to use you as long as it serves his will. But we can't stand back, and we can't make excuses, and we can't just wait on him to take care of it by himself. Because in the Bible, he's using people all the time. So what makes you think he's not using people now? What makes you think he's not using you if you're willing to be used? And if you love your children, and if you love your grandchildren, and your great-grandchildren, you need to fight for them. You need to stand up for them. You know, what kind of world do you want to leave them? This world that these people are creating is not the world I grew up with. And I would hate for my grandchildren to grow up in a world where my granddaughters are called persons with vulvas. Girls and women have vulvas. And my granddaughter, my youngest granddaughter's not even 2 years old. A 5-year-old, sex education for kindergartners. They shouldn't even be talking about stuff like that. At that age, they could barely figure out how to use the bathroom. This is demonic and evil what they're doing. And there was a time when people would say these kind of things. I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about this teaching, this in these classrooms. Those folks would be going to jail. They'd be going to jail. But now, they're trying to normalize. You know, there was a time, many of us remember, when the Boy Scouts used to be an honorable, God-fearing institution. You know, they wouldn't allow homosexuals in the Boy Club. They wouldn't allow homosexual scout leaders. Well, now they do. Homosexual scout leaders and homosexual boys. And you get all them kind of weird people together going camping. What do you expect to happen? I mean, it's like, what do you expect to happen? It's like putting a male in charge of a bunch of young females, and they're all together in a situation that invites error. So, fight for your children. Fight for America. Leave a record. You know, plan it. If you don't know what to say, just sit down and write out something. Think about it. But if they can talk to our children in schools explicitly about stuff that is just over the top, then we need to be able to talk to them right now about whatever we need to talk to them about to prepare them. I mean, we got these schools where these boys are in girls' locker rooms. And our daughters are subject to trying to change with a male in there that's identifying as a female. That's horrible. They shouldn't have to go through that. And the only reason why they're going through that is because enough of us hasn't stood up and fought. We got to fight people. We got to be serious about the battle. We cannot let them overrun us. You know, we have righteousness on our side. We have God on our side. We got the truth on our side. We got human decency on our side. We got biological reality on our side. I mean, what more do we need? We need the courage and conviction to stand up. That's what we need. We need people willing to deal with it. Because, face it, we're in the pit. And if we don't get out of the pit, it's going to be because we decided to stay in it. And sacrifice our children to it. And unfortunately, from a political point of view, it is the Democratic Party that is pushing all of this. And that's the truth. There's no getting around it. And for my Democrat friends, particularly my Democrat friends that say you're Christians, you need to own up to it. You need to look at it. You don't have to trust me. Just research it. See who is defending this stuff and see who isn't. So we're approaching a midterm election right now. And you need to vote Christian values. You need to vote for folks that will stand up for God. It's stupid to sit over here and say, yeah, I'm against all this stuff. I'm against all that. I'm for this. And then vote for some joker who's going to keep it in place. I mean, what sense does that make? It makes no sense at all. It's like telling your friend, I'm tired of you being a dope addict. Why do you want to be a dope addict? He said, well, can you give me, okay, just give me $50 and I'll just go get one more hit. And you give it to them. And they go out there and get some more dope. Why would you vote for people that are antithetical to your belief system? Why would you vote for people who do not support the God of the Bible that you do? And look, and to say I'm a Christian, say I love the Lord, it means nothing. Faith without works is dead. If you claim that you love God, but you keep supporting stuff of the devil, then you support the devil. That's who you love. So, vote Christian values, fight for your children, stand against evil, and don't tolerate the nonsense. Don't equivocate. Stand firm. Stand strong. Trust God and get in the fight. That's the only thing we got, folks. We got nothing else we can do. With that, I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank you for spending the time with me. I want to encourage you to stand strong for Jesus. Stand strong for your family. Stand firm, strong for truth and righteousness. This is Sam Tolley. I'm out. God bless you.